John chapter 9. As he went along, he saw a man blind from birth. His disciples asked him, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? Neither this man nor his parents sinned, said Jesus, but this happened so that the work of God might be displayed in his life. As long as it is day, we must do the work of him who sent me. Night is coming, when no one can work. While I am in the world, I am the light of the world. Having said this, he spit on the ground, made some mud with the saliva, and put it on the man's eyes. And go, he told him, wash in the pool of Siloam. This word means sent. So the man went and washed and came home seeing. His neighbors and those who had formerly seen him begging asked, Isn't this the same man who used to sit and beg? Some claimed that he was. Others said, No, he only looks like him. But he himself insisted, I am the man. How then were your eyes open? They demanded. He replied, The man they call Jesus made some mud and put it on my eyes. He told me to go and wash at Siloam, so I went and washed, and now I see. Where is this man? They asked. I don't know, he said. They brought to the Pharisees the man who had been blind. Now, the day on which Jesus had made the mud and opened the man's eyes was a Sabbath. Therefore the Pharisees also asked him how he had received his sight. He put mud on my eyes, the man replied, and I washed, and now I see. Some of the Pharisees said, This man is not from God, for he does not keep the Sabbath. But others asked, How can a sinner do miraculous signs? So they were divided. Finally they turned again to the blind man. What have you to say about him? They asked. It was your eyes he opened. He replied, He is a prophet. The Jews still did not believe that the man had been born blind and that he had received his sight until they sent for the man's parents. Is this your son? They asked. Is this the one you say was born blind? How is it that he can now see? We know he is our son, his parents answered, and we know he was born blind, but how he can see now or who opened his eyes, we don't know. Ask him. He is of age, he will answer for himself. His parents said this because they feared the Jews, for already the Jews had decided that anyone who acknowledged that Jesus was the Christ would be put out of the synagogue. That was why they said, Ask him. He is of age. A second time they summoned the man who had been blind. Give glory to God, they said. We know this man is a sinner. He replied, Whether or not he is a sinner, I don't know. One thing I do know. I was blind, but now I see. Then they asked him, How did he open your eyes? What did he do to you? He answered, I have already told you, and you did not listen. Why do you want to hear it again? Do you want to become his disciples too? Then they hurled insults at him. You are that fellow's disciple. We are disciples of Moses. We know that God spoke to Moses, but as for this fellow, we don't even know where he comes from. He answered, Well, now that is remarkable. You don't know where he comes from, yet he opened my eyes. We know that God does not listen to sinners. He listens to the godly man who does his will. No one ever heard of a man opening the eyes of a man born blind. If this man were not from God, he could do nothing. To this, they replied, You were steeped in sin at birth. How dare you lecture us? And they threw him out. Jesus heard that they had thrown him out, and when he found him, he asked, Do you believe in the Son of Man? Who is he, sir? The man asked. Tell me that I may believe in him. Jesus said, You have now seen him. In fact, he is the one talking with you. Lord, I believe, the man said, and he worshipped him. Jesus said, For judgment I have come into this world, so that the blind will see, and those who see will become blind. Some Pharisees who were with him heard him say this and asked, What, are we blind too? Jesus replied, if you were blind, you would not be guilty of sin. But now that you claim you can see, your guilt remains.